Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Trauma Recovery University. I am your host, Athena Moberg, and this is my amazing co-host, Bobby Parrish. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, everybody. We're so glad you're here. Thank you.
We are so excited for you to be here for another week of Trauma Recovery University. First of all, like always, I would like to give a very, very, very special welcome to anyone that is watching on Roku TV. We love you guys. We are so grateful for each and every one of you. And it's just, I can't even believe all of the 5-star ratings you guys are giving us on Roku, and we're just really grateful. So if you are watching us on Roku TV, thank you, thank you, thank you. Very special shout out to you. Also, I wanted to give a very pleasant welcome, and I know that you guys are sleepy in the UK. It's 2 o'clock in the morning there, but you tune in live all the time when you can't sleep, and we just want you to know how much we appreciate you. So if you are listening on a podcast platform or a podcast resource such as iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud or iHeartRadio or Spreaker, we want to absolutely welcome you and let you know that this is a video broadcast. You can find us by going to YouTube and finding our YouTube channel, which is Trauma Recovery University, or you can, as I mentioned, go to Roku and find us on Trauma Recovery University. Today's topic that we are talking about, as you know from previous episodes, we have our Twitter chat on Mondays, and it's geared towards our UK audience while it is the evening there and the morning here in US. Today's topic is healing our intuition through congruence. What does that even mean? We're going to unpack that today. We're going to go through different areas of congruence. What is congruence? What does it even mean? How does it have anything to do with our intuition? Why is our intuition damaged? When did it happen? And what does this have to do with our sexual abuse that we incurred as children? So again, I just want to welcome everyone, and I want to remind you, as always, if you are triggered by watching this video or listening to this broadcast, we want to remind you to practice excellent self-care and self-soothing techniques. And if you are in crisis, please reach out to our awesome, amazing people over at RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. And they have a wonderful 24/7 live chat feature on their website to help you if you happen to be in crisis. So without further ado, I would like to turn this over to my amazing partner, Bobby Parrish, who probably has some other amazing public service announcements regarding live events and our anthology and all kinds of
Yes,
awesome stuff. So take it away, Bobby. Go ahead and share with everybody what we got going on.
absolutely. And I want to add in that RAIN also has a toll-free hotline, and that's at 1-800-656-HOPE. And I have that memorized because I do it every time before a Twitter chat. So if you can't reach them by the chat feature, then you can reach them at their toll-free number. We also want to remind you of our live events. We have the first event is going to be in Atlanta in the beginning of June, the first weekend of June, and then we will be in Portland the last weekend of June. We don't have a whole lot of information for you yet in terms of registration, times, venues. We're still setting all that up. We're trying to make it as affordable as possible for all of you. So we hope that you'll be a little bit patient with us as we get details figured out and just block that weekend out. We now have an amazing event planner who's working with us, and we are so excited to have Stacy with us. Stacy is the best Stacy ever on Twitter, and she's doing phenomenal things for us. So we're so excited that she's coming alongside to help us out with this. And we also have our anthology, our second annual anthology that's going to be published in November of essays and poetry written by survivors of sexual assault. And pardon me, I have a cold, so I'm so sorry I'm sniffing, but I promise to mute my mic when I cough. And we are now accepting submissions for that. If you go to the website, Trauma Recovery University, you'll see a tab that says book. And I did check. It is there. It is under that, all the submission information, all of the guidelines. what you need to submit, what you need to do to qualify, what needs to be in your submissions, all right there laid out perfectly. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit us up and ask us for questions. We do have a publisher this year. We're so excited. We have signed the anthologies for the foreseeable future with Book Trope out of Seattle, and they're just being absolutely fantastic to work with, and we're so very grateful that they have come alongside and taken this project on so that we can share the book with more people. Anything else that you can think of, Athena?
I do. I have a couple more things that I actually forgot. I wanted to remind you guys that the reason we do this broadcast is for you. You guys give us the topics. You guys are the ones that tell us what it is that you need. And I know that we've received one comment only previously that we're a little bit too jovial and hilarious and funny and silly, and that is not really appropriate for such a serious topic such as sex abuse. However, you've told us that you enjoy our personalities the way that we are, and it's not really worth having another tear-filled conversation when we can have a great conversation with you without being tear-filled. And it's okay. Sometimes we do show up and we're emotional and we're teary-eyed, and that's just real. But in an effort to keep on topic, which is congruence, we are 100% real with you guys all the time. If we're having
Absolutely.
a heavy week or a heavy day, you guys know about it. If we are just super excited to be bringing you another awesome live broadcast here on Google Plus and YouTube and Roku TV, and we can't wait to connect with you, then our personality comes through in everything we do, and this is our channel, and if you don't like it, you don't really have to subscribe. So to each and every one of you guys out there who do love us, thank you so much. Tell a friend, share our channel, and remember, this is interactive. If you would like to interact with us during our live broadcast, it's every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, on Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. And I would like to just do a very brief plug for a new social media platform that I'm very excited about. It's called Cyberdust. You can follow me on Cyberdust. You can read more about Cyberdust at cyberdust.com. It is an app that was created, or that the founder is Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, who is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I have nothing but amazing things to say about this app, which is Cyberdust, and just the level of confidential support that I'm able to provide other survivors of sexual abuse on this app is absolutely incredible. I have met so many incredible survivors, and if you are not in love with the Twitterverse, but you would like a little bit more anonymity, then go to Cyberdust, and you can follow myself at +Athena Moberg, and you can follow my amazing partner Bobby Parrish, +Bobby Parrish. Pretty easy. We are in the popular section. If you go to cyberdust.com and it says who should I follow, we're in the popular section there. You can find us. But as of right now, during our Trauma Recovery University broadcast today, please do tweet us out at either you can tweet us at Trauma Recovery U, or just go on Twitter and just follow the hashtag #NoMoreShame and send us a tweet. And the best Stacy ever wanted to let us know that she is tuning in. So thank you, Stacy. We just got done talking all kinds of wonderful things about you and how excited we are to have you on our team. So, and Melissa Wilson. Melissa Wilson is tuning in. Hi, Melissa. And without further ado, we're just going to jump into our content and talk about how we can heal our intuition through congruence. Bobby has done some incredible research on this. I did research as well. We have an awesome one page for you guys. And we are just so happy that you have chosen to spend this hour with us.
Yes.
Bobby, what do you think? Take it away.
Well, we had our first Twitter chat this morning, and as Athena said, is primarily for our UK audience. And then we have another Twitter chat on Tuesday night. And it was interesting this morning to have people discuss and respond to this topic. Some of them didn't quite know what we meant by congruence, but once we, like you said, I love the way you say that, unpacked it, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I get that one. I understand that one. Athena and I think it's really important to talk about congruence because it's important for us in our recovery journey, and it's important for us to be safe in the world. Congruence is important. And it's also a way for us to rebuild our trust of ourselves and other people. Trust is a difficult issue for survivors because our trust was so violated when we were children. So let's talk for a minute about our intuition and how it gets damaged. And I just want to talk without looking at the one page here for a minute because I'd like for you to be able to see us and interact with us rather than stare at the one page the whole time. When we're children and we are reliant upon people who are betraying our trust, who are treating us badly, who are abusing us. And I know that not everyone who is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse was abused by a family member. But it's entirely possible that even though there was no sexual abuse in your family, perhaps there was no nurturing. Perhaps there was no acceptance of you having any kind of emotional expression. Perhaps it was just kind of an empty childhood experience. And that can do damage to your intuition as well, because what happens is that we come into this world with intuition. We intuitively know, we have a gut knowing for kind of what's right and what's wrong in the world. And for example, as children, we can kind of sense the emotional temperature of our parents. We've attached to them. It's a safety mechanism that's hardwired for us. And so when we see our parents and we notice that maybe they're tense between them, there's some tenseness or there's some anger, and we go to one of our parents and we say, "Mom, what's wrong? Why are you upset?" And she says, "No, no, 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 no. No, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. You're fine." Then that plants that first seed of doubt in our mind that maybe we misunderstood, that we didn't have it right. And because they are in power over us and we need them in order to survive, if we have to choose between our intuition, our thoughts and beliefs, and their thoughts and beliefs, we are going to choose their thoughts and beliefs because they are the ones that we're dependent upon. And we're going to just chuck ours out and say, okay, that was wrong. I was thinking wrong. And of course, when we're children, we don't know the word intuition, but, our thought was wrong. Sometimes it's a little more blatant. We think, I don't deserve to be hurt like this. Yes, you do. This is happening to you because you're a bad person and you deserve it. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't think I was bad. But this person who I'm dependent upon for my life and my safety is telling me I'm bad. So maybe I really am bad. It's that present one face but behave in a different way. So your words say one thing, your behavior says another. I love you, but I'm hurting you. Now we instinctively, intuitively know that that's wrong, that those things don't go together. But if our choice is to believe an adult that we're dependent upon or to believe ourselves, we'll always believe that adult. And so over time we learn not to trust our own judgment, not to trust our own intuition. So it's that incongruence that damages our intuition. Incongruence meaning that the beliefs, the words, the behavior are not in line with each other. Okay? They tell you they love you, but they hurt you. They tell you that they believe that people get what they deserve in the world, but you didn't do anything wrong, and now you're being hurt. Someone tells you that they're a big believer in acceptance of all people, but then they speak in a racist way. Those things are all examples of incongruence. And so it's that incongruence that when we're children that undermines our intuition. And only by putting the congruence back in place, by evaluating other people's thoughts and behaviors and words in a congruent manner, and by evaluating our own thoughts and behaviors, like Athena says, is the internal system congruent with the external system? Are they saying the same thing? yes, she's asked me to attend this social function on Saturday. I feel obligated to go. She's a friend. Okay, I'm going to say yes. But inside, that's the last thing in the world that I want. So there's not congruence there. So hopefully that helps. Athena, did I unpack that at all in a helpful way?
Oh no, you definitely did. It makes a lot of sense to relate the topic of congruence with boundaries the way that you did. Because if we have a healthy boundary, whether it's with a loved one or a family member, or if it's a physical boundary or whatever, then our thoughts and our intuition and our actions are all in line with one another, and it feels normal. It feels good.
Right.
A lot of people, um, people talk about like love at first sight, and this chemical attraction that you have with a partner or whatever. And oftentimes, when you have that type of chemical reaction or that love at first sight sort of thing with a romantic loved one when you very first meet them, uh, people will warn you. People that are older, maybe that have been married for 30 years or whatever, will warn you and say, "Be careful. That's just the honeymoon phase." And the reason they say this is because there's a chemical in our brain that is flooding, and we're all in completely in hormones at that point, and we're being our intuition or our judgment is being affected by this chemical. So when you're a child and you have all this crazy abuse going on, your brain is literally soaking in like a toxic chemical, and you have all we have other broadcasts that we've talked about on this particular topic, but I wanted to add to Bobby's point that when that quote unquote honeymoon phase wears off, and you sort of are able to see that your intuition your judgment was a little bit clouded, or you're actually able to see the true colors of that person, because you're going, okay, wait a second, I thought that what I was feeling added up to this because of the way they were acting, speaking, feeling, etc. I thought that everything was in line and that they were what they said they were going to be. But now, after time, I'm noticing, wait a second, I didn't notice this, or this. I was distracted.
Yeah.
I wonder, why didn't I see these things before? Wait a second here. Wait a second here. And so we tend to fall into re-victimization because we sort of don't trust those gut instincts or those intuitions, or we're kind of flooded at the moment. So we're just gonna talk further about this topic and how all of this comes together to heal our intuition, and so that we not only are in integrity and in congruence with ourselves, but that we're able to actually know and intuitively know and feel and sense when another person is either in integrity with themselves or they're out of integrity, which oftentimes shows itself and manifests itself in the way of hypocrisy. Like, I refuse to act this way and believe this way, and I only do things this way, and that's the only type of person I want to be around. But then you see them when they think no one's watching, and they're doing something completely what you think is out of character. They're out of congruence. And so your trust in that person is instantly killed, and it takes a long time to rebuild that. So a lot of congruence and healing our intuition. A lot of this has to do with trust. A lot of it has to do with trusting ourselves, trusting other people. How can we even do that? Are we even possible? I got a lot of questions online today in Cyberdust and on Twitter um, about, gosh, what are the after effects of your sexual abuse? They last for so many years on so many different levels. Do people really recover? Are they ever able to be normal again? I've been getting that question a lot lately. So I'm going to turn those questions and our one page over to Bobby, and we're just going to have an awesome discussion on all these topics. What do you think, Bobby?
I think that's great. Let's dig into this one page if I can get it up to look pretty here.
What do you
Let's
think
see.
about the chemical in our brain and all of that? And you know what I mean? Like,
You know,
it.
I messed it up.
No, you didn't.
I didn't press the present to everyone button.
Oh no, that's okay.
There we go. Now present to everyone. Um, you know, Uh-oh, is it full, Athena?
It
Did
is.
I do it? Okay.
Yep,
Um, I think that that is one of the huge reasons why we are re-victimized. Survivors are re-victimized at the rate that they're re-victimized because we don't trust our intuition. We don't trust those red flags that pop up. And so when they pop up, we ignore them, or we say, oh, that can't be true, or the person that we're in a relationship with tells us that we're wrong. And when that happens, we obviously are not trusting ourselves. And so, wow, my screen be all locked up.
it is. We can
Yeah.
see. It's the one
Okay.
page looks great.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay. I see what you mean now.
There we go. Now I'm moving. Okay.
Yay. Okay.
Um, and one of the things that I really want to mention, and this is here on the front, is that often the damage done to our intuition is not something that we notice right away, because it's a more subtle kind of damage than the things that are so automatically severe, the post-traumatic stress disorder, the self-harm, the eating disorders. Those are all things that we can immediately see and sometimes are very life and death matters. But what we need to recognize is that there are some undercurrent issues that flow underneath those. And when we don't address them, we set ourselves up for having harm down the road, and this is one of those things. So when we don't heal our intuition, when we don't learn what congruence is and how to apply it to the world, then we end up getting re-victimized. And when we get re-victimized, we get re-traumatized. And when we're re-traumatized, everything comes flooding back, and it almost feels like you're having to start all over again. So we want to do everything we can to prevent re-traumatization. Trauma is cumulative. It's not like, okay, I have a cold, and when this cold goes away, that's it, it's done. The next cold I get isn't going to be worse than the cold before it just because I already had one. Trauma doesn't. Trauma works the opposite of that. Trauma is cumulative. So if I have trauma when I'm a child, and then I have more trauma when I'm an adult, it all gathers together, compounds together, and it gets worse, especially if we have not done our recovery work after the first batch of trauma. So we really need to do everything we can to avoid being re-victimized, and healing our intuition is one of those things. Okay, so let's look at this one, and we've already talked about it a bit. How is our intuition damaged? And the intuition is damaged by incongruence or mixed messages. He tells me he loves me, but he hits me. He tells me that I'll always be the only person in his life, but then he has an affair with someone. Okay? Mixed messages. My mother tells me that she's fine, but sometimes she's got a black eye, she's always sad, she's crying. And again, if we have a choice between um, accepting the truth of someone who has power over us, even as an adult, when we're in a domestic violence situation, oftentimes we don't have the finances to leave. There are children involved, and perhaps our abuser says, if you leave, you're never taking the children. The power is out of balance. And so if you have a choice between believing the person who has power over you and believing yourself, chances are very high that you're going to believe the person who has power over you. So all of that undermines our intuition, and we don't trust ourselves anymore. We don't trust that internal compass that tells us what's right and what's wrong, and what's truth and what's a lie. And that's what sets us up for being re-victimized, because we don't believe those red flags that our tuition throws up. That didn't sound good, did it? Our
No, it did
tuition.
actually. It makes sense. It really, really does.
It gave me horrible visions in my mind of my intuition throwing up. Okay, so There we go. And these are the two important things right there in the middle of the page to look at. Not listening to our intuition causes revictimization, and revictimization traumatizes again and sets our recovery back. So we must learn to begin to trust our intuition again, because it helps us to navigate safely through the world, and we're going to feel more grounded. Because if we're practicing congruence ourselves, that means, like Athena talked about earlier, our inside matches our outside. We feel more normal. We feel more calm. We feel more peaceful. We don't feel like people are taking advantage of us. We don't beat ourselves up for letting people take advantage of us. It's just when you set those boundaries, when you act in congruence, it is so much easier to feel at peace in the world and at peace with yourself. Does that make sense, Athena?
It does, yeah. I like the fact that we are able to sort of put a value on revictimization. Not a value, but like what does revictimization look like and why? Like a lot of times we feel we're so hard on ourselves.
We are.
I can't believe I fell into that trap. I can't
Right.
believe I believed him. I
Right.
can't believe that I allowed myself to get into that situation.
Right.
Or, there's a lot of victim blaming that goes on. Oh, well, gosh, you hear messages like, well, maybe I shouldn't have worn that dress, and then I wouldn't have gotten unwanted attention, and I wouldn't have gotten sexually violated, or
Right.
and
It
there's
was
a
our
lot of
fault.
victim blaming. It was our fault. It's always our fault. The abuse is our fault. We should have known better. I think knowing that the reason that these types of things do happen, it's not just an overnight phenomena. It actually started from the time you were younger, when you were
Absolutely.
little, during your formative years, your developmental stages, when there were not healthy boundaries being taught to you in your home, and when you used your very best judgment and you were told that you were wrong. But instinctively, you knew that you were right, you know?
Yes.
So,
Right. That's the
yeah,
crazy making part.
it is the crazy making part. It drives
Um,
me nuts.
well,
It's like it's so unkind and it's so cruel to do that. And we've all experienced it. I don't think I've met one survivor that I have spoken with, helped, um, met with, or chatted with, or been ministering to, or whatever, that didn't have trouble with trusting themselves because of something they were taught, or they thought they had it right, and someone sort of proved them wrong, if that makes sense.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, it's interesting because my son has that sensitivity to my mood. And I can remember talking to my therapist about it and saying, but I hate to tell him, yes, I am sad. She says, don't lie to him. She says, do not lie to him, because then you're denying his feelings. You don't have to give him huge, long explanations for why you're sad. It's okay to say, yes, I am feeling kind of sad now, but I'm okay. And, to just reassure him so that he knows that feeling sad isn't a terrible thing. It's an emotion. And it's okay to express all your emotions in an appropriate way. So I will always remember her telling me that. And I'm always, now I'm truthful with my son whenever he sees me and he sees that maybe I'm sad or he sees that I'm upset. And he'll say to me, you look upset. That's always his phrasing. You look upset. I see it on your face. And it's interesting how he has that capacity to read my features. But that's exactly the kind of thing in a malicious way that happened to us as children, as our abusers worked to deny our reality. Because only if they could deny our reality, only if they could convince us that nothing was wrong, that the abuse either wasn't happening and it was just in our mind, or the abuse was actually an okay thing, could it continue?
Yeah.
Because if we quote unquote caught on, then there could be some serious consequences.
Yeah.
Um, and I know I hear over and over and over again from survivors, and it's one of the a question that really irritates me that survivors get asked so often is, why didn't you tell someone? And
Yeah.
it's just not that easy.
It's just
Um,
not.
no,
Because
it's not,
you're groomed and taught that speaking up is going to get you in trouble.
and it does.
Yeah.
Many of us, it does, and even those who do speak up and say something, very often the response is, I don't know what you're talking about. You're a liar. Why are you causing problems for the family? Oh, well, it's okay. He means well. Just try and stay away from him. It's minimized, it's denied, we're blamed, and then now you feel even worse because you tried to speak up for yourself, you were shot down, and now you feel even more hopeless than you did before you said something.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from survivors, um, even survivors who would tell someone at their school, and the school would then call a parent, and the parent would deny everything. Oh, no, no, he just has an active imagination. He had some nightmares. He watched a movie. No, it's not happening. And then when the parent got their hands on the child suffered horrible abuse as punishment for speaking up.
Yep.
So, that's how our intuition, how those red flags, how our instincts that something is wrong all get undermined. And it's through that incongruence. And the way to fix it, the way to heal it, is to start looking for congruence in other people and start practicing congruence within ourselves. And that's two different things. And so what we want to watch for with other people is we want to watch, does what they say match with what they do? And Athena and I talked about this morning in chat, that both of us have huge triggers. I can't remember the word that you used, Athena, but I know I said the word hypocrisy.
Oh,
What
yeah.
was
I
the
was
word
just
that you
saying,
said?
I said that when people are not in integrity with themselves, or if there is a lack of congruence, it has the I tend to get triggered very deeply, like deeper than
Yes,
other triggers. Like
yes,
the size of the red flag grows and it's huge. It's a huge, huge, huge red flag for me. Like an example of this, if you all are watching or listening and you're not resonating with any of the examples we're giving you, let's say you meet somebody, you meet this really, really, really wonderful guy or gal, and you go out on a date, and you think they are the sweetest person ever. They're nice to you, they speak kindly to you and respectfully, and they seem to really just be kind, like very other-centered. And then you take them out to a restaurant, and when you're done eating, the busboy comes around to
yeah,
clear the dishes off the table. And this person that you just met, that you think is the nicest person you've ever met, is rude to the busboy. Like
yeah,
just overtly rude. Like disdainful, or just treating them as though they're some sort of second or third class citizen because they're a busboy. That, to me, is a deal killer. Period, period, period. I will never, ever, 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 ever go be friends with someone that treats people as though they're above them. It's just not a characteristic that is in line with who I am, and I will not be friends with people or surround myself with people that act like that. I just won't ever, because I just think that it's wrong. It's very wrong.
well, and it breeds mistrust,
It does.
because if they're sitting here in my face talking nicely to me, but they treat this other person badly, does that mean at some point if they become upset with me, they're going to treat me like that? Or
Exactly.
does that mean that they treat other people in their life like that? And it does. It raises that. That's the kind of thing that we want you to watch for in other people. And those are the kinds of things that you just cannot minimize away or rationalize away. I know that both Athena and I have worked with domestic violence survivors. And this is one of the things, this incongruence in the behavior of their abuser that is sometimes very difficult to confront in the survivor when they're not yet ready to leave, when they're not yet ready to accept that the relationship is in fact unhealthy. And because they've rationalized in their head that, okay, so I see him be mean to other people, but he's so nice to our children. He loves the children, and so that makes him a good man. Or, she only hits me when she's drinking. So, it's okay. And it's that rationalization of the incongruence. When we find ourselves starting to do that, we know we're on a slippery slope.
Yeah, most
Because
definitely.
that will take you straight down
Yep.
into re-victimization. And again, it's because that's what we learned as children. And we're just replaying what we learned. And yet, during my second marriage, and, intuitively from the very beginning, I knew there was something that wasn't right. And of course, looking back on it now, I can say much more than that. It's not like I knew something wasn't right. Something wasn't right. And I was unhappy. And yet, every time I said, I'm unhappy, I don't think this is, going well, the response to me was always, well, in my first marriage, everything was perfect. And so if there are any problems in this marriage, it must be your fault. Because I have been proven to be a perfect partner.
Wow.
And because I had been groomed as a child to believe that if there was ever anything wrong, despite what I may have thought in my head, if there was ever anything wrong, it was my fault. And here he was telling me this. I believed it for years. And I know someone said this in chat one time, and I can't remember who said it, bless their heart. I would love to quote them. That we contort ourselves, into pretzel shapes. I can remember that was the phrase that they used, twist ourselves like pretzels to become who we think that person wants us to become.
Yep.
I changed everything I could to be a good wife. And in the end, I realized, I had some flaws. There were some things I really didn't do well. But you know what? It wasn't all about me. And if I had allowed myself to acknowledge those red flags, and if I had allowed myself to look at the behavior of my partner and see that the behavior was not congruent with the words, the whole thing could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to learn. We have to learn to watch for that incongruence in other people and take it to heart and honor ourselves. Realize that we are worth being in relationship with people who are congruent. We are worth that.
We are.
Because for the most part, a lot of our interpersonal relationships, when we were children, there wasn't congruence. And we didn't think we deserved that. Well, we do deserve that.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's easy for us as survivors to sort of allow ourselves to get the short end of the stick on certain things because we were told for so many years, like, you are so ungrateful. You should just be
Yes.
grateful that you were not raised during the time that I was raised. You should just be grateful for whatever you get, because if you would have experienced what I experienced, then you don't even know. I went through much worse than you. One that I used to hear a lot of was, you have never known what it's like to go hungry. You should just be
Wow.
grateful for the food I offer you. But the food that was offered to me was spoiled and made me sick. I stayed home from school several times with food poisoning because of the food that I ate, and it was spoiled. So, but I should just be grateful that I would
Right.
never know what it's like to go hungry. And which is just asinine if you look at it in that context, you
Right.
know?
Right. Or what I would hear is, you should be grateful for what you get because you don't deserve anything.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Um, and there was some of that. I had it worse than you had it, but it was more of a, you don't deserve a thin dime, and so anything you get is a bonus. So you need to just sit down and shut up. Um,
yeah,
you know, and those kinds of things. Gosh, talk about the expectations that set you up for. Um, you should be grateful for being treated poorly, and you should be grateful for any kind of treatment, even if it's terrible.
yeah.
Like we've said more than once, this is crazy making. Um, when I was in my grad program, we had to do a class. I don't know if I've told this story before, so if I have, Athena, just verbally smack me upside the head.
No, I
Um,
don't think so.
we we had to take a class called Rat Lab, and we had to either work with a pigeon or a rat and train them in these series of experiments that we were instructed to run. And so I had a rat because there was no way in the world I was going to put my hands on a pigeon just because I was afraid they were going to peck my eyes out. But one of the things that we learned is that the surefire way to make an animal unstable, mentally unstable, is what they call a random pattern of reinforcement. So, one of the first things we learned how to do was, teach the rat that if he pushed the pedal once, he'd get a pellet of food. And then, okay, you teach the rat that, if he pushes it 3 times, he gets a pellet of food. But in order to make the rat unstable, mentally unstable, you had a random pattern. So maybe he pressed it once and he got a pellet of food. And then he went back and he pressed it once again, but this time he didn't get anything. And then he went back and he pressed it 4 times, and whoop, there it comes now. And so it's that um, incongruent, that random um, hit or miss behavior that we got as children that is what they call crazy making, because we don't know where the next good thing is going to come from. We don't know where the next bad thing is going to come from. We don't know whether today's one of those days we have to walk on eggshells because mom and dad had a huge fight last night, or is one of those days today when everybody's sober and happy and it's going to be an okay day.
Yeah.
And so that, that instability, those random patterns, that lack of congruence is really damaging. But it doesn't seem to be as damaging as the post-traumatic stress disorder, or the cutting, or the purging, or the depression that leaves us feeling suicidal. And so we don't get a chance to address it. But what we really want you to hear tonight is that you need to address this. Because if you don't address this, you are open for re-victimization in a way that will set your recovery back.
Most definitely. I mean, it's minimization of any after effect of abuse is, I mean, obviously we're going to recommend that you don't do that, but when you minimize something so significant as trusting yourself or trusting others, and you're setting yourself up for years of isolation, you will literally create your own personal hell, and you're the one that has the key, but you have yourself locked inside. You really
Right.
need to allow yourself to be in community with other people. The only way you can be in community with others is if you have trust. you trust yourself, and you trust them. And so even though, like Bobby was saying, this particular side effect or after effect from your abuse from so long ago isn't as significant as your PTSD or your DID or any type of eating disorder or binging and purging or cutting or porn addiction or what have you, it is still worthy of your paying attention to. And without trust in others and without being in community with others, you're gonna fail at instilling health. You're gonna fail at asserting and maintaining healthy boundaries. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got a little tongue tied there, but you need to trust yourself and others enough to assert and maintain healthy boundaries. And in order to do that, you need to use a grid, and the grid that you use to figure out who is allowed in and who to keep out is congruence, period. So it's very simple. Survivors need very simple mathematic equations, and so A plus B equals C. This person acts this way, but pretends that they're really not ever going to act this way, but they really do. That
Right.
that A plus B equals C. That means that that's not a trustworthy person. Are we
Right.
saying that the very first time someone ever, you experience distrust, that you need to dump them? No. In fact, Bobby, can I tell a really brief story
Oh, absolutely.
without the one page being on? Because I've
Yeah.
told this. I think I told this in episode 2 or 3, but we're like 30 episodes down the road or something now. So,
You know what? I would love to, but I cannot. All I have is a little hand. My
oh,
cursor is not allowing me to click on anything else. So we have
hit escape.
escape. You
Yay!
are so good.
I know.
Okay. Here we go.
Awesome.
Yay! Okay.
So, okay, I know I told this story probably several months back, but I just wanted to give you an example. So we are not encouraging you to ditch every person in the whole wide world that is not in congruence with themselves and in integrity with themselves. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is you need to have the courage to address that issue with someone in a way that gives you the opportunity to trust yourself in the decision you're going to make, whether or not you are going to spend time with them. So, example, I'm married to an amazing man. He is trustworthy, he's kind, compassionate, he's not abusive, he's amazing, he's loving, he's unconditionally loving, he's an incredible human being, and I'm blessed to have him. There was one time that he acted a way that was not in integrity with who I thought he was, and I absolutely flipped out on him. I flipped out. And it was because it hit this congruence trigger. And when I was mentioning in our earlier chat today that we do for the UK on Mondays in the mornings US time, this is what I was referring to. My husband was sitting in his favorite easy chair, and we had a tsunami going on. Well, our home phone started to ring, and the caller ID popped up, and my husband saw who the caller ID person was that was calling us. I answered the home phone, and it was one of my colleagues that tends to be a little bit overreactive because they had only lived in Hawaii for, a couple months. And we know, after living here for so many years, my husband's lived here over 30 years, that not every tsunami warning is really a tsunami. Like, we watch it, we gauge, and we're up on a hill, one of the highest points on the west side of the island. So we don't necessarily panic whenever we have a tsunami warning. So my husband, if I could reenact this for you guys for just a second, who's normally an amazing human being, who's kind and compassionate to every person I know, more compassionate and more kind than I am, for real, like over the top, including my family, people that are he's amazing, over the top, kind, and compassionate 100% of the time, pretty much. He sees the caller ID. I answer the phone, and he can tell that this person on the other line is very concerned about the tsunami. Very, 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 very concerned. And I'm trying to sort of talk him off the ledge, like, it's okay, it's going to be fine. I know you live very close to the ocean. No worries. Thank you so much for offering to go to the market and buy us bottled water and soup and all this stuff. That's so kind of you. Please feel free to come up to our house if you need to get away if something happens and you have some flooding where you live. My husband has this look on his face, and I will try to reenact it as best as I can to let you know what I mean, how it hit my congruency button trigger so deeply. He was like,
oh no.
And when I saw him make that face, I'm telling you, you guys, I am usually very patient and very mild-mannered, sweet Athena. Ooh. No. I was the crazy person. I got up in his face and I'm like, listen, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are acting that way? They've only lived here for a week or so. What in the world are you thinking? I mean, I flipped out on him. Like, you are this supposed nice person, and so this is who you really are. These are your true colors, right? This is how you really are. This is how you're going to act. You're probably going to roll your eyes at me and blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, I went off on him. I was so disrespectful to my husband. I definitely owed him like 5 apologies, which he forgave me. I did apologize. But I'm just telling you guys that this congruency thing, this being in integrity with yourself and thinking and acting and saying and feeling and everything, like the way that you project it to the rest of the world, is so important. And it is such a hairpin trigger that it, like, if you can talk yourself off the ledge and not flip out on people that you have grown to know over several years, if they just slip up once, because everybody's human. My poor husband, he had been working for 9 hours. He had just gotten home. He just wanted peace and quiet, and he wasn't rolling his eyes and the words I would thought were going through his head, saying that she was completely annoying and you know, like, whatever. That wasn't what it was. He was rolling his eyes like, oh my goodness, we are going to get so many phone calls because we have this tsunami warning going on. Our phone's going to be ringing off the hook like it always is. I've lived here 30 years. I know how it goes. That was what the look on his face was saying. But I took it so personal. Like, who do you think you are? I mean, seriously. It was, so if you find yourself getting, that's what I meant by it triggers me so deep, like deeper than other triggers. Because I was made to feel as though I was a nuisance when I was younger. Right when I was even born, I was told that I wasn't even supposed to be born. Like, I had family members that spilled hot coffee on me on purpose just because they wanted to see me cry. I had people that were intentionally mean to me and told me that I wasn't welcome and that I didn't belong and that I was a bother. I should have been aborted. I would be better if I just disappeared. I mean, I was treated so horribly that every ounce of all of that pain and mistreatment and abuse that I had, I saw on my husband's face at that moment, because I knew that the people in my family that said all those horrible things to me, that was the face they would make when they would talk about me.
Right, and that was the trigger, that look on his face.
Oh, it was horrible. Yes, that was the trigger. It was the look on his face, because I knew that look. That look was like, you shouldn't have even been born. Like, you're ridiculous, you know? So I know you guys are getting the groove of the whole congruence, whatever, but I just needed to just tell you that if you have this wonderful, amazing spouse or a wonderful bestie that you've known for like 20 years and then they slip up and they're not in integrity with themselves or whatever, give them the benefit of the doubt. Have the courage to address it in a respectful way, or just say, hey, I noticed you sort of acted that way and it's not normally how you would act. Like, what's up? You know, maybe don't flip out on them, especially if it's your awesome spouse. You know, I wasted a really good evening.
I think what we're talking about are patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
Um, Unless, if it's someone who we don't have hardly relationship with at all, that fellow that you're on a first date with and he completely tears the waiter down from head to toe. Uh-uh. We don't have a pattern of good behavior to, it's almost like um, a pattern of good behavior to even interrupt with the bad. I'm kind of done at that point. But if it's someone that we have a pattern of good behavior with, and one bad thing comes up, okay, that's one thing. Let's talk about it. Let's get some clarification. But then if it starts to happen again and again and again, there's your pattern of behavior that you really need to address, and that's I think what we want to talk about in terms of people that you're in relationship with who've already proven themselves to be trustworthy. Someone said in chat this morning, my trust is hard earned. It takes years to earn, but only seconds to be destroyed. And that, I hear that so often from survivors. And what we want to do is maybe to shorten the time that it takes for someone to earn your trust by watching for congruence, and then maybe to lengthen the time that it takes for you to lose trust in someone by watching for a pattern, not just a one, and that's it, you're done, I'm done with you for the rest of my life kind of stuff. Does that make sense, Athena?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, I mean, I think a lot of things in life have to be, the pros and cons have to be weighed.
Right,
Like one one instance doesn't equal a pattern of behavior. It takes a long time to develop a pattern of behavior. And if like I know, for instance, Bobby is a person of integrity and kindness, and she follows through and she does what she says she's going to do, and she's compassionate and kind. And if she were to act a way that was opposite of that, I wouldn't just be like, Psh, I'm done with you, whatever. It wouldn't be like that. I would probably say, hey, I noticed what's going on. How
right,
can I help? Is there something I can do to support you? I noticed that you're you're a little bit different than you normally are. I mean, I would give her the benefit of the doubt, because again, that's not her pattern. It's not her pattern of behavior. And
right.
I'm learning to trust myself more. It takes a long time to start trusting yourself again. Especially if your sexual abuse was over years and years and years of time, and it wasn't just a one-time occurrence, then you probably have a harder time trusting yourself than someone who was abused only one time. I'm not minimizing the fact that you were abused. Abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse. I'm talking about this characteristic of survivors is likely to be less in you if you experienced abuse one time or later on in life, as opposed to over a decade of time in your formative or developmental years.
Right,
Does
in
that
your
make sense,
developmental
Bobby?
years. Yes, and when it happens over your developmental years, when obviously when you're a child, and it happens over a long period of time, it's almost like those things get hardwired into our personality, and that's where you get that diagnosis of complex post-traumatic disorder, because it's a lot harder to deal with than just classic post-traumatic stress disorder, because you have to go in and almost rewire the way you think and your belief system, because it has been almost set in concrete, because it happened over a long period of time during those formative years when our brain and our personality are really forming. So yes, you might have a few things that are going to be a little bit more challenging for you. Doesn't mean they can't happen. Both Athena and I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We've worked on it. We know a lot of people who do. There's a whole bunch of hope. Um, but it does take some hard work. But we're right there with you. So we're hoping that we're giving you the support and education you need to be able to have the hope that you need to move forward every day.
Yeah, and so for those of you that were dusting with me on CyberDust and you're asking if there's hope or if people ever feel normal again or they recover, or for those of you that were tweeting out questions about that type of thing, the answer is yes. You can recover. You can feel normal again. It takes time, and you have to take your recovery seriously. Recovery is one of those things, and it's not to be cliche, you guys, but recovery is one of those things, especially regarding sexual abuse, recovery for sexual abuse. You get out what you put in. When you put in the time and the effort to really work through your junk, talk about it, think about it, journal about it, read, interact with others, be in community with other survivors, volunteer if you feel ready to volunteer to help others. The more you put into your recovery, the more you're going to get out of it, and you are going to feel normal again. We're not promising you anything, but we're saying that it is possible. Right,
Yep.
Bobby?
Yep. And, I think that's interesting because I can't honestly say that I ever knew a life before my abuse because mine started when I was so young. So some of us, that word recovery is kind of a play on words because we don't really have anything to recover. What we're doing is building. We're finding normal for the first time. And so, yeah, it's a journey, but you can do it. And we're here to tell you that you can do it. And both of us have been to hell in a million different ways with our abuse and traumatization afterwards. So it can be done. There's hope.
Yeah. And like Bobby was saying, if you don't know a life before your abuse, and like we use the word recovery, it's sort of a buzzword, right? But like my abuse started when I was, pre-memory. So I don't really know a life different than that, except for me personally, and I don't know if this is maybe some of you guys too, I had a period of time in my life. It was very, 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 very short. It was probably from about 2009 to 2011, 2-year period of time, that I felt the healthiest I've ever felt in my entire life. I was celibate, so I wasn't in any type of an intimate relationship, so I didn't have any type of memories that were coming up at all. I had worked through a lot of my abuse and a lot of the things that had happened to me. I just didn't have the heaviness of all of the memories that I have right now. And so for 2 years of my life, I felt very, very healthy. I felt spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, 100% the healthiest I've ever felt in my entire life, period. And so then all of a sudden, all these other memories started being uncovered, memories that were buried deep, 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 deep that are just horrific, horrible. And so my goal in my recovery is to feel the way I felt from 2009 to 2011. Again, someday, I'm hoping. But, if I don't get there, then I'm just going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep moving towards that goal of being mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically healthy, and financially healthy. So that's my goal.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't hold
Okay.
that one back. Oh my goodness.
Poor Bobby. I'm so sorry, Bobby.
Let's put up our contact information really quick here.
Yay!
So people can get a hold of us. Oh, mercy. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So this is how you can get in contact with us, and we would love it if you do. On Twitter, I am Truth is Hers. Athena is Athena Moberg. And then Trauma Recovery University is at Trauma Recovery U. You can email us at bobbylparish@gmail.com or athena@athenamoberg.com. And our websites are bobbyparish.com, athenamoberg.com, and traumarecoveryuniversity.com. On Facebook, we have a Trauma Recovery University page. I have my personal page, Bobby Parish. Athena has her business page, Athena Moberg fan page, and she has her personal page, Dawn Athena Moberg. You are more than welcome to friend us on our personal pages. We would love that. Um, we would just love to connect with you, help you, and support you in any way that we can. So we really do encourage you to reach out to us. Sometimes we're a little backlogged, and it might take us a little bit of time to get back to you, and I just hope that you'll kind of be patient with us as we work through our emails. I'm so sorry for my cold here. We do 2 Twitter chats a week. The first one is on Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. UK time, and that's under the hashtag CSAQT. On Tuesdays, the hashtag is Sex Abuse Chat. That one is at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that one is at 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. And then we have this, our Google Hangout, which is live on Monday nights at 6 p.m. PSAT. PSAT. Yes, so take your scholastic aptitude test, your pre-scholastic aptitude test with us on Monday nights. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then that is Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the morning for our lovely UK peeps. We have private and secret Facebook groups. We would love for you to join us. Send us a message, friend us on Facebook, and we can add you. As always, all of our videos are available 24/7 on Roku TV and on our YouTube channel, which is Trauma Recovery University. And then anytime you want to come watch us on Monday nights, that's at bit.ly Trauma Recovery U. Yay!
Awesome. Yay! Hey, I have a couple of tweets that have come in from our peeps. And so I just wanted to answer a couple questions, and then we'll go ahead and let you guys go. If you want to interact with us live, you can just use the hashtag #NoMoreShame on Twitter, and just send us your questions, or if you have topics that you would like us to record and add to our editorial calendar.
Yes,
so feel free to do that.
I love that.
Yes, and we'll do whatever topic. I know that forgiveness was mentioned again today by one of our people, Brenda, and I'm looking forward to that one again. That's kind of a touchy subject with a lot of people, but so Melissa would like to know if congruence and incongruence also involves being afraid to be yourself because of fear of judgment, like people pleasing.
Right, absolutely, because we're afraid to present our true self because we'll be rejected. So we're unable to be congruent for fear of rejection, for fear of a lack of acceptance. So that is a congruence issue. We're afraid to be in integrity with ourselves. That one maybe tackled a little bit more from the angle of self-worth, and tackling that lie that abuse tells us that we don't have any self-worth. So that one, maybe to come at that one from the angle of you're worth it. You want to be with people who want to be with the true you, and choosing people who honor that for you because you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. Melissa and all of us deserve to be loved for who we are, not who people want us to be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bobby, I know, right? Thanks for going in depth on that answer. I also have a couple of tweets here from the best Stacy ever.
Yay!
She was talking about how her and Liam have definitely been in the same situation as my husband and I have been in. Maybe don't flip out on them, is what she has in quotes. Like maybe like I flipped out on my husband, my poor husband, bless his heart. He totally forgave me because I apologized, but still he didn't deserve that. And then she has a comment on here from a few minutes ago about complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and commenting on what you were saying, Bobby, which is almost like you have to rewire.
Right.
Like it's set in concrete.
Yep.
And she's saying yes, 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 yes. She definitely resonates with that. And just letting everyone know that we definitely can recover. You can feel normal again. And that you get out what you put into the recovery process from sexual abuse, which absolutely you do. and recovery is possible. So thank you for your interaction, you guys. Thank you for your questions, for following along, for watching live. Thank you so much for tuning in every single week to Trauma Recovery University, and for all of your 5-star reviews on Roku TV and your comments on YouTube and the emails that we receive and the texts and the tweets and the Facebook posts. It's just, I've received a huge, almost like a, I don't know, I just feel like there's some sort of like weird like standing ovation or something going on when this new app, Cyberdust, that I'm trying out, Mark Cuban's app that I was telling you guys about. Every single person that finds out what it is that you and I are doing, Bobby, is they're sending us messages like, wow, I can't believe you guys are doing what you're doing. Like, you're doing life-changing work, and that's incredible. We're so proud of you. I applaud you for the work you're doing. Wow, that's amazing. I can't, this is incredible. I'm so happy that survivors have someone like you. I mean, the response has just been overwhelmingly positive, and so Cyberdusters, thank you. You guys are the most amazing online social media community I've ever been involved with. It's like this tight-knit family there in Cyberdust, you guys. So go to cyberdust.com and I don't know, just let them know that Athena Moberg and Bobby Parrish sent you, I guess. But it's not like they're going to give you anything special or cookies or chocolate or anything. But
we wish.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. But yeah, guys, I mean, seriously, Cyberdust is amazing. I've never experienced anything like the sense of community that I've had here, except for in our survivor community. I mean, it's like the bond that these Cyberdusters have with one another is so strong. It's crazy. So that's my shameless plug for Cyberdust. And Bobby, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you for carrying me through this last month when I was on the mainland, just going through my dad's being on life support and passing away, and just everything that you've done to help me get through all that and carry me through it when I haven't been able to do all of the normal technological stuff that I normally would be doing. So thank you.
You're so welcome, sweetie, and you deserve that. You deserve to have someone step up and help you when things like that happen. So
thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Well, we love you guys, and don't forget, send in your submissions for 2015 Discovering Together.
Yep.
That is the title of our anthology. It will be published in No More Shame November.
Yep.
And before I forget, I had one last thing. I wanted you guys to go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com and click on the button that I believe it says No More Shame November. Grab that No More Shame November 2015 button and support us, letting people know what's going on in the sexual abuse space, letting them know that you support the work that we're doing just by putting that button up on your blog. So we would really, really appreciate that. Anything else, Bobby?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys next week, or
yes,
or tomorrow on Twitter at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, using the hashtag #SexAbuseChat with Rachel Thompson. Bye, guys.
Bye.